Hey everyone, welcome to Maybe Daily episode 12. And it has been, it is still your host, Jean-Dominique Nguele. It has been 58 days since I last recorded the podcast, which is crazy. Like, I didn't realize it was so long since I last recorded, edited, and published an episode. Because in general, I just do this pretty quickly. I just take 15 minutes to half an hour to just set up and record the episode, then edit and release within 1 hour. Yeah, say an hour and a half tops from the time I started recording. The episode is live for you to enjoy. So it's great to think that I spent 58 days without having any episode out. 15 days, I think that's when it was 27th of July of this year. So now we're 23rd of September. Crazy amount of time. And in these 58 days, nothing changed. I still did not go back to using Facebook or Instagram. My accounts are still idled somewhere with maybe thousands of notifications that I probably will never look at. We're still in the middle of a pandemic in case you don't have internet, but I guess, if you're watching this, unless you're some sort of wizard from the past or future, you already know that. Oh yeah, actually there's a bonus. We got 6 more months of restrictive measures, which were not nearly as bad as the lockdown we had back in March, April. Still not great, but I guess if we went through the first one, the actual lockdown, going to you can't go to the pub till after 10 p.m. I feel like we'll be fine. We'll be just fine. At least I'm in a situation I'm fortunate enough that I will be fine and people around me as well. So I'm cool on that side. Now the best thing to keep is shape, stay healthy, as the cage right there, which you probably see for the last few episodes since I moved to this room for recording. And what else didn't change? Yes, so-called justice warriors. You see that I did. So-called justice warriors. They're still trying to destroy things, to just get rid of everything that is good in this world. And the latest thing that they took on was Joe Rogan. Yeah, they had that GRE podcast, and they decided there's been from what I understood, at least 10 meetings within Spotify with some employees that just decided they did not like Joe Rogan and they wanted to have editorial oversight over his next episodes, maybe even past episodes, who knows, because we all remember those episodes that mysteriously disappeared when the deal was announced and that the episodes were supposed to move to Spotify. You got the likes of Chris D'Elia, we still didn't forget about him, Alec Jones, and few other guest episodes that were corrupted and could not be migrated properly. So since they've been restored after the whole and shoot, so I'm guessing they tried to do some ninja sneak move there, not fooling anyone. So yeah, now they're trying to demand to get oversight, even though, as far as we know, the deal that Joe has with Spotify is that, yeah, I'll take the money, but also, you can't say shit about my show. And I hope it's gonna stay like that, because otherwise, it's not a JRE anymore. If it gets tainted by the whole SJW people that have been at his throat for the last few years every time he said something, taking his words out of context. The show's just dead. That's it. So hopefully, so I'm thankful for Spotify Powers, CEO, and other people that stood up to these, I don't even know what to call them. Well, so-called warriors. So-called justice warriors. There we go, these guys. So yeah, pretty glad that they stood their ground and that we will keep the JRE, as far as we know, in its shape. But the future will tell. We'll see which guests go there, what sort of episode happen. And we're okay, now we show you not meddling with Joe's business, as you promised. Right. So what else have these so-called justice warriors been up to? Yeah, Mars. That was announced just today, actually. Mars decided to change the branding. Well, they decided to erase Uncle Ben's from history, which is definitely not the greatest thing you want to do if you're for, BAMI or black representation, people of color being represented everywhere. You don't want to get rid of one of the rare people, I think I said it in the previous episode, one of the rare black person you get to see on TV for some people like my generation are fucking 29 now. Yeah, we didn't get to necessarily tons of black people unless you watch a show like Family Matters. I think that's the name in English. And there's another one that came out in the mid 2000s, but in the 90s, late 90s. You could see, Family Matters Cosby Show, but that didn't age so great. And Uncle Ben's, that's what you'd see on TV, and like, oh, now that's one of these childhood icons, even if it was just food related. Like, yeah, childhood icons, some memories of having some rice and stuff that they're trying to erase because they want to uphold some values that we can't really determine what these are because they seem to be changing. Like the goalposts keep moving. It's like, oh, we don't see enough black people. Like, yeah, but these ones that we see represent slavery, so you can't have that anymore. Like, hey, pick one, okay? Don't fucking screw around with our minds like this. So yeah, Uncle Ben's now they changed it so the Uncle Ben's face is also removed. It's gone. It's gonna be gone. They're gonna call it fucking Ben's Original. So I guess I'm not gonna have this anymore unless somebody makes it and I don't know, and maybe I won't care that much. But it's annoying to see that they made such a significant change. And yet, I try to, relativize, because in the end, it's just food, it's just a brand. Like, whether I have it or not, it's not going to change the company's bottom line. They're only doing that to get more sales. So let's see how that works out for them. Maybe it's not going to change anything. Maybe they won't get any more sales. Maybe they won't get any less sales. And it's all going to be for nothing. Which I hope it will. But then in the end, I really won't follow up on that. Unless the news comes right in my face like today. Like, oh, we're changing the name again. Stop. You get one chance. One chance to change. You change this too late. Go back where you came from. So, what else have these so-called justice warriors been up to? Oh, JK Rowling. More like JK Trolling, am I right? Like, she did a thing. Well, let me get a sip of water there. Yeah, so she did a thing. So much happened actually since last time. I'm saying nothing changed, but like quite a few things happened. Like in terms of, so she released that book under Robert Galbraith. How the fuck you say it in English? Like fake name. Like basically, she ghostwritten a guy that doesn't exist named Robert Galbraith. It's a different style from what she does with the Harry Potter thing. She writes this book as a man. So they got outraged this time because they say that the book was transphobic. And I feel like that might have been. I haven't read the book personally. Personally, I haven't read the book. Which is at least one thing I have in common with those so-called warriors that are calling for cancelling the book and burning it. You even got the guy who came on BBC saying the book was transphobic. Only by knowing the tagline of, okay, a man dressing himself as a woman murders people. And that was enough for them, like, oh, that's a transphobic book. Well, there's a lot wrong with that in terms of logic and in terms of, how these people think. But I'm wondering if JK was like, okay, I'm just going to troll these guys so hard. Because they say, oh yeah, okay, I'm just going to put a man dressed as a woman. So technically it's just a man, like, as they would say, a cis man. Which, fucking don't like prefixes, but, if you're going to, I guess I'm going to have to at some point. No, you know what, fuck that. A man. Just a man dressed as a woman to murder people. So that's all I know from the book, and that's all most of the people that get outraged by it know about it. So I just checked some reviews from people that actually read the book, saying that it's just some drama, some sort of thriller, where you kind of follow whatever cop or detective to figure out who that guy is and just arrest him. Just, classic police novel. And that was enough for people to call to burn the books. Like, they buy her book that they say is transphobic. Right. I'm guessing to make a dent in the revenue or whatever. They buy the book. They burn the book. Oh, of course they film it, because otherwise, couldn't be the internet if you didn't burn. Because if you actually believe in your thing, you don't need to put it on camera. You don't need to say, oh, look at the book, the transphobe satanic book I have. I will burn upon thee. And yeah, no. So they buy it, they put it out, they burn it. I'm guessing that was over TikTok, Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever the fuck those young people are doing these days. And yeah, but I don't think they realized how, the whole commerce, buying book work. You get the book, she gets the money. the money doesn't go away because you burn the book. Like, you gave the money for literally nothing. Yeah, okay, maybe you get like 5 more followers on Instagram tomorrow. But you do something else that's as stupid to get a couple more to keep them. Tomorrow they're like, you know what? We don't like you so much anymore because you've done some dodgy thing. We scroll down your tweets. You're not gonna lie anymore. So we're gonna burn your page and take you down with us. If we go down. Or whatever. Like, people eating themselves. So yeah, so that happened. There's that other thing with that rugby player thing, but I think I mentioned that. And if I haven't, well, that could have been if I could have made an episode on. So yeah, that's on me. Well, what else? Oh yeah, then she was going around with she got some t-shirts. I don't know if she's selling them or if she just advertised for them. She posted like a selfie with a t-shirt saying, this witch doesn't burn, as reference to the witch hunt that's really went against her. People calling her name, being really misogynistic against her as a response. Like, it's very interesting that the answer to her concerns about women's private space being invaded by men and so on gets answered to with misogynistic comment and death threats. That is just almost poetic, almost as if it was proving her point to begin with. Well, so yeah, crazy things happening around her. I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on that. I'm guessing everybody's looking at her. She hasn't actually had a proper tweet for a while, which I'm guessing is due to the constant harassment. Just that one retweet of that rugby guy saying that men that transition into women shouldn't play with women, and which was Gathering the Fire as well. And then the last one, so that was the book that I just mentioned. I was thinking about buying the book to read it, but then I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about the story. I would be just there to see it's actually transphobic. Got a few reviewers and journalists that I kind of trust, as in they don't seem to buy, they don't seem to lean too far right or too far left. They just kind of try to stay in the middle, which is good. Like, that's how you should try to consume your media. People that won't go one extreme or the other and try to remain fairly balanced. So that's what I've been doing. And people that actually read the book are like, it's not transphobic. If you think it's transphobic, and let's say, well, first because it's not actually a trans woman. Who's the main character? Is just a guy dressed as a woman. So worst case scenario, maybe you'll offend transvestites. And even then, you can't burst our balls asking for inclusion, equality, etc., etc. And then you get included in a book. You get a story featuring, I'm guessing, from your own viewpoint and criticism, one of yours, as the protagonist, no, as the antagonist. And you're like, nah, we don't want to be included that way. We can't have one of us be the bad guy. You're like, it's not even one of you technically, it's an imaginary character. And yeah, if we can have Russian villains, we can have black villains, we can have handicapped villains. What the fuck can't we have LGBTQ, I don't know the other letters, villains? And either you want inclusion and you want all of it, or you get none of it. You can't be like, oh, I'm gonna pick and choose the good stuff. I want to take all the CEO roles because they're the good shit. I don't want to go and pick garbage because that's the bad shit. I feel like we don't see enough of us in the boardrooms in Spotify. There you go. That's another circling back to Spotify. So it's again hypocrisy in its highest shape, which I highly despise. As you probably know, since you've been watching my episodes, like podcasts and guests. Oh god, I miss having guests. Having guests was so cool. I like to have guests face to face, but maybe at some point I might want to try my hand at having remote guests, people that would talk to over Skype or the fuck is the other thing? The Chinese one, the Zoom. There you go. Oh, Zoom. So maybe I'll do that. Oh, actually, there's a French one as well. Jitsi. That's the one. So maybe I'll try to do something like to have guests over one of these channels remotely, because we can't really have people yet. I mean, we can have people indoors, but I don't feel like it would be a good thing to show out there to have like someone coming home to record a podcast. That just wouldn't feel right. And even if it's like a friend, that might come off wrong. So yeah, I'm gonna avoid doing that, at least for now. while everyone cares, even though not everyone cares. We know that. Like, so yeah, so hypocrisy. Oh, it's on hypocrisy. Yeah, so yeah, you still have people trying to create racial divide out there. Like, fucking. Oh no, I think I probably mentioned that already. That if you ain't voting for me, you ain't black. You know what that is. But that's not the one that captured my attention of the last few days. Like a few, I think that was last week. Last week, yes. There was that PSGOM, which is basically is the French Classique, as you'd say, the equivalent of it's a Manchester United Liverpool. Yeah, Manchester United is not so hot right now. Well, it's the French equivalent of Real Madrid against Barcelona. There you go. It's Paris against Marseille. Huge shock, huge clash. And Marseille did not beat Paris in like 10 years. So that was really a big. Well, there was a lot of pressure, and people thought, okay, Paris is a bit less in shape because of the players that went partying in Ibiza and all these things. So Marseille thought, okay, if we don't beat them this time, that's never happening unless we get our own billionaire to come and build a real team. So game, high tension, lots of fighting, lots of insulting, like players insulting each other on the pitch, which is fair game in football. You push, you shot people around a bit. Yeah, maybe you'll be a tackle that'll be a little more insistent than others. But then in the end, shake hands, all go out, go separate ways, or just hang around and chat on WhatsApp or whatnot. That's just whole good, fair game. Nothing wrong about that. But then if you follow the news, you know what happened at the end of that game. That didn't end up with hands shaking. That ended up with people calling each other terrible, terrible names. And terrible names as in, we're still counting these at fair games. At least when I was young, playing football, I was like fucking 14, 15. These were all fair game. So I'm guessing it didn't change over the last 10-ish, 15 years. It's still the same, it's just that now some people know the current political climate and try to take advantage of it. So it all started with a football player that I think is really talented, really great. Probably wasted his career, could have done better. Neymar, you know who Neymar is. I mean, even if you don't follow football, you know who Neymar is. He got a red card. So actually, yeah, at the end of the game, there was a big fight between Marseille and Paris players. Well, a big fight. Like a few players throwing some punches. Neymar was the main puncher, who have punched a Spanish player from Marseille's team. And when the referee showed him the red card, he complained saying, oh, fucking stupid league. I got racially abused. Like, oh, shit. I felt maybe it's just bitching for no reason, maybe none of it happened. But I thought, it's football. You can have insults that just don't, just doesn't come towards your skin. You just don't think about it. Actually, some players have been coming out recently saying, oh, I mean, yeah, we get insulted the same way every weekend. Like, what's the deal? Like, maybe if we can all do that, we just cancel everyone's career and we're done. Because, yeah, so Neymar saying that he was racially abused. Later on, there was an announcement from Paris, PSG team saying, right, Neymar was racially abused, and Alvaro, so the Marseille player, called him a monkey, basically. Yeah, I think it was like something like fucking monkey or whatever. Which is, I'd say it would be terrible to say to someone. Well, actually, it's terrible to say. Actually, fucking monkey is pretty harsh. Maybe you monkey-looking motherfucker. That one feels more fair game. But like, fucking monkey, I feel like that's a little too much. So yeah. So that happened. Then, on the other side, there was like a Parisian player, I think Di Maria, spat on a Marseille player. Like, that really turned ugly. Oh, so Neymar said that it's what happened, like that. Alvaro called him a monkey, he punched him, referee gave him a red card. He's like, oh, what the fuck? He racially abused me. So now it's been a few days, and even though at first the French diffuser, like the broadcaster of the game, was saying, oh, we don't have any image of anything. We haven't seen anything. We didn't see anyone spit on anyone. We didn't see Neymar insulting the guy. We didn't see Alvaro insulting Neymar. We didn't see anything. We don't have the images, and it seems like either they've been trying to cover it up and try to kill the story, or they're like, yeah, we do that every week. Like that happens every week. We don't want anybody to look into our business. So yes, back on the racial abuse. So there's a statement from PSG, a statement from Marseille saying no, our player's not racist. And then a bit later, you've got something new that comes up. Marseille issues a new statement saying, oh, actually, Alvaro's telling us that before he called Neymar monkey. So I went from he didn't do that to oh, he did it. But before he did it, Neymar called him a faggot. That's like basically the French equivalent. And I think he did it in Spanish. Maricon. There you go. He called him a Maricon. So there we are. Both terrible insults on both sides. Like, 1-1. I guess we can just stop it here and not have any more investigation. Not spend anyone. Nope. Some new came up today. So that's actually pretty funny that there was the racial thing towards Neymar, so Neymar being called a monkey. So on Twitter a couple of days ago, there was an Alvaro out of football trending. People went to make Alvaro, just to kick Alvaro out of football and retire him early because he's like, 27, 28, so he's still pretty young. He could play a few more years as centre back. So yeah, people want him out of football, which is insane. But the world does what it does. But now, and then Alvaro said that, yeah, but Neymar called me a faggot. So people, actually funny enough, people did not react to that. They say, oh, we don't know, we don't have any evidence. But then so didn't they for Neymar, and they didn't hesitate to call for Alvaro to be out of football before they had any evidence. So that was interesting to me to witness that. But then, some new came up today. And there's another Marseille player who actually might be suing Neymar because Neymar called him a fucking Chinese, some shit like that. And it's a Japanese player, so double racism. Because we all know that Japanese and Chinese don't see eye to eye. At least back in World War II, I don't really know now. I'm not really into that, but I know like a couple Chinese people, they're not a fan of Japanese. So I'm guessing getting confused with Japanese guy, because Chinese with Japanese or Japanese with Chinese, that won't roll quite. So yeah, so that happened. And now we're gonna wait to see. So now we got Neymar insulting two players, racial insult, homophobic insult against one player that's racially insulted him. So let's see how that whole works out. If they just decide to, you know what, forget about it, because the more you dig, the more you'll find stuff. So we don't want anyone to be in trouble. Or they will go all the way through, and Neymar's got more to lose in that story, because he's the guy who should be a bright star who can win the Champions League. I don't know. At most, what he's going to do? He's going to be like fucking Ligue 1 podium with Marseille. Well, okay, he's going to miss the Champions League if he gets banned. Marseille plays the Champions League this year for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. So yeah, he does have a lot to lose this year, because not a player who's played a lot of Champions League. I don't even think he ever played it. So he would have that to lose, a chance of his career to be in the biggest competition. Neymar, he misses a shot at being a Ballon d'Or, even though I don't think it's going to happen now. Like, I think his time is just gone. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be a very interesting time. Very interesting to witness what happens with that Marseille story, because racial divisions make everything more twisted. And I feel like taking advantage of that is disgusting. Because, you're pulling people's strings in a time where we all locked home. People are much more emotional about things. And with all that's going on with BLM and the protests and all this stuff, I'm so glad we're not in the US, because the US looks so fucked. Like, oh boy. People are cool with burning shit and looting stuff. At least in London that happened once. Like, hey, calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down. But in the US, it looks like, no, you know what? Let them burn themselves out while they burn buildings for a few $1 billion. But as we say in that French comedy thing, that is none of my business. But yeah, I mean, when you look at that, when you look at a world like people trying to take advantage of any situation, taking advantage of people's feelings to further advance whatever agenda they're pushing, or just to try to, I would say, get themselves out of a situation like, oh, I'm going to look bad because I got a red card, so I'm going to say he was a racist. That way, maybe people will forgive me, I won't get the red card anymore. But now, like, oh yeah, but now you're homophobic, and you're a racist. and you got a red card. So how bad you look now? So yeah, I feel like in the end, anything that goes to him, he'll deserve. That's it. Any sanctions gonna get from the French league, any image damage is gonna get, all deserved. I don't wish it to happen, but then what happens happens. And that's the thing, like when you look at how the world goes, like in politics or the news, it doesn't give you hope that things gonna work themselves out for you, right? It's like that thing that I always say, like you won't have the government. If shit goes down, really goes down, say for me, the government won't save me. The Avengers, the Justice League won't either, even though all these three entities have the same level of power, as far as I know. Or as far as I'm concerned, I'd say. I'll have to just rely on the best team that I know. Me, myself, and I. So yeah, every day I'll just keep working on myself, do better, get better, and try to lift up the people around me the best I can. Because that's the only way forward. The only way forward in that sort of situation throughout this pandemic. The only way to make an impact in people's lives around me. And I think that's the way that everyone should be following. Just focus on yourself. Try to make yourself grow so that you can help whomever around you to get better, to do better. And you focus just on your scope around yourself. Because it's too easy to go out there, pretend to be a white knight ready to save the world, to change the climate by not going to school for a year, or to try and shut down a podcaster you don't like. Do your own shit. You want to make the world a better place? Make yourself better. Make people around you better. Make your community better. Because if everybody does that, the world ends up being a better place. It just happens. So yeah, just focus on what you can do right now, right here. And that's how I'm going to end this podcast. This was Maybe Daily episode 12. Jean-Denis Guéret, out.